Hey, Democrats who want Biden to drop out. Shut up. The chaos on Capitol Hill last week as Republicans in the House of Representatives ousted their speaker for the first time in the country's history, coupled with the horrific Hamas terror attacks in Israel, have seemingly quieted down the calls for President Joe Biden to step aside so the Democratic Party can nominate someone younger. That should be the case. But in case it isn't, here's my message to my Democratic brethren. Unless you want to embolden Donald Trump and the MAGA extremists, and increase the chances of a Trump second term, shut the hell up and let it go. It's been infuriating the last couple of months to see Democrats wringing their hands and, yes, bedwetting about how worried they are that Biden's age will turn off many of his voters, even those who strongly support him. Weirdly, the reporting goes that Biden would be 86 years old at the end of his second term is freaking voters out. Well, if he is reelected, isn't that a moot point? Time equals 400 ms. Greater than this bogus narrative claims that there are so many other politicians that Democrats would like to see run instead of Biden, and that makes him a weak candidate. But where are those other Democrats? Have they announced their candidacies? Are they on the ballot in the states? Are they raising money? The answer to all of these questions is no, making these scenarios moot as well. Also, the earliest deadline to file paperwork to appear on the ballot in all 50 states is coming up in just a few days. There is no plan B, folks, but Biden's low approval rating, goes another concern and complaint. We are still more than a year out from the general election, and all the energy, focus, chaos and mobilization have been on the raucous GOP primary. It is not a surprise that Biden's numbers among Democrats are not what they need to be. They will be. This far from the election, approval numbers are moot. What about Biden's head-to-head polls with Trump? He is now behind in many. The Washington Post, ABC poll was a self-described outlier. Others have shown the candidates tied. But the in-state polls, which should be our focus, show Biden doing well. He is 12 points ahead in New Hampshire. He is also ahead of both Trump and Florida. Governor Ron DeSantis in Michigan. We choose our presidents state by state, so national head-to-head polls, especially this far out, are moot. What matters more is how Democrats are doing in the special elections and ballot measures that have been held this year, where Democrats are crushing their opponents, outperforming Republicans and proving they can win in swing areas and even red areas. These measures are much more meaningful because they involve people exercising their vote and counting that vote. Not a phone call and an anonymous questioner on the other end. These measures are not moot points. These matter. Going back to the age issue, Democrats do need to acknowledge that it is a real concern among some voters. But they should not overstate the worry. My dear friend Chuck Rocha, who worked for Senator Bernie Sanders, IVT, in the 2020 election and is a top party strategist, talked to me about the results of some focus groups about Biden's age. What stood out to him was a sentiment best described by a gentleman who said, "Yes, President Biden is old. But so is Donald Trump. And I would rather have old and steady than old and crazy." Exactly. We need to remind ourselves that our democracy, our freedom, our sanity and our rights are on the line. With these stakes, age seems like a secondary issue. Democrats need to focus on the massive and historic accomplishments that President Biden has delivered for the American people over the last 3 years. The most recent jobs report was a juggernaut, surprising even economists. It speaks to the effectiveness of the policies that Biden has put in place. Then there is the infrastructure money that is pouring into cities and states, making Republicans so giddy that even those who voted against the bill show up to the ribbon-cutting ceremonies and take credit for it. Student loan forgiveness, lower prescription drug prices, reproductive and health care freedom, bringing back manufacturing jobs, the list goes on. Tragically, this past weekend reminded us of the importance of having a leader at the helm with deep foreign policy experience, with long-standing relationships with global leaders based on knowledge and respect. No one in either party comes close to President Biden on this important qualification. There is a plethora of data points on which to stand a rock-solid contrast argument between President Biden and Trump. Biden will win that matchup every time with Democratic voters as well as independent voters, who don't want the chaos, the crazy and the confusion that Trump treated the country to for 4 agonizing years. But the twice impeached, 4 times indicted, 91 times charged former president cannot be taken lightly. The nation is still incredibly divided and polarized, and every effort to get our votes out will matter. Democrats should take nothing for granted and run as if Biden is indeed 10 points behind Trump. It is the only way to win. But Democrats could lose if they keep whining and complaining about Biden's age, which gives comfort to their opponents, further enables a Trump candidacy and weakens Biden's chances to win re-election. If Democrats don't want that, they will shut the hell up about Biden's age, and make it a moot point once and for all.